AITA for refusing to babysit my sister's kid after what she did at my wedding. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to cut off a close family member, especially my own sister, but here we are. The worst part? Most of my family thinks I'm the one in the wrong. So maybe I need an outside perspective on whether I overreacted or whether I just finally had enough. Let me back up a bit. I, 31F, got married about 9 months ago. My now husband, Liam, and I spent over a year planning our wedding. It wasn't some over-the-top fairy tale castle type of event, but it was incredibly personal and meaningful to us. Small guest list, cozy venue, hand-picked food, and a ton of attention to detail. We wanted the day to be memorable, not just for us, but for everyone there. My sister, Emily, 29F, was my maid of honor, and when I asked her, she cried tears of joy. We've always had a complicated relationship, but I genuinely thought this was a turning point. She has a 6-year-old daughter, Ava, who I adore. I used to babysit her practically every weekend when Emily had to work or needed a break. We were really close, but even then, I was hesitant to have children at the wedding. It was an evening event with a formal dinner, open bar, and a general adult vibe. Plus, we didn't want kids getting tired or bored halfway through. After talking it over with Liam and our planner, we decided on a no-kids policy. It wasn't personal. We communicated it months in advance. Everyone was cool with it except Emily. She kept bringing it up, hinting that maybe Ava could be an exception since she was family, or that maybe she could come just for the ceremony and then leave with a babysitter. I shut that down politely but firmly every time. I even offered to pay for a sitter for the whole day so Emily wouldn't have to worry about a thing. I wanted her to feel included, but also respected our boundary. Fast forward to the day of the wedding, everything was going smoothly. The ceremony was beautiful, our vows went off without a hitch, and the photographer was getting all those golden hour shots we dreamed about. And then I walked into the reception hall and saw Ava sitting at one of the tables. In a little white dress. I froze. My brain literally couldn't process it at first. I thought maybe she just stopped by for a second with the babysitter to say hi? Maybe something went wrong, but then I saw Emily laughing, drinking champagne, acting like nothing was wrong. When I walked up to her, she gave me a hug like it was all perfectly normal and whispered, "Surprise. I knew you'd be too stressed to notice, so I figured you'd thank me later." I was stunned. Just completely emotionally short-circuited. I didn't want to cause a scene, so I told her as calmly as I could that this wasn't okay, that she'd gone behind my back, and that I expected Ava to leave with the sitter immediately. Emily's whole demeanor changed. She got defensive. Said I was being dramatic, that Ava was family, and that I was prioritizing some arbitrary rule over people who love me. She refused to leave. I had no choice but to pull Liam aside, tell him what was happening, and we both went to speak to venue staff. In the end, they escorted Emily and Ava out. I was heartbroken. Not only was my sister not standing next to me at the reception as my maid of honor, she was now the talk of the room, and not in a good way. The night continued, but something inside me cracked. The trust one had in her, that fragile little thread I had been clinging to, snapped. I didn't talk to Emily for weeks. She didn't apologize. Instead, she posted passive-aggressive stuff on social media like some people are so ungrateful, even on their big day face with rolling eyes and can't believe family can turn on you just for trying to do something nice. She painted herself as the victim. Our relatives were split. My mom said I overreacted and should have just let it go. My dad stayed neutral but clearly wanted us to make up, and my aunt straight up told me I was cold. But I couldn't just pretend it didn't happen. It wasn't about a kid showing up. It was about my sister knowingly crossing a boundary we'd clearly set repeatedly, and then acting like I was the one being unreasonable. On my wedding day, still, after some time passed, I reached out. Told her I was willing to talk, but that I needed a real apology. Not excuses. Not gaslighting. Just honesty. She ghosted me for 2 months. Then, randomly last month, she texted me asking if I could watch Ava for the weekend. Like nothing had happened. No context, no sorry, no follow-up. I didn't reply right away. I had to sit with it. My instinct was to say no. But then I started doubting myself. Would that make me the bad guy? Would I be punishing Ava for something she had no control over? So I called her. I told her I wasn't comfortable watching Ava right now, because I still hadn't gotten a proper apology, and because I didn't feel like our relationship was in a place where I could just pretend nothing had happened. Her reaction: "Oh my God, you're still hung up on that? Are you seriously going to let your ego ruin your relationship with your niece?" And that was it for me. I told her, flat out, that until she was willing to take accountability for what happened, not twist it, not minimize it, I wasn't going to keep pretending things were fine. That included babysitting favors. She hung up on me. Now she's telling everyone I'm abandoning family and taking out wedding drama on a child. Even my mom says I should be the bigger person. I don't think anyone gets how deeply this affected me. This wasn't just a small disagreement, this was my sister violating something I had made clear, multiple times, about a day that meant the world to me. And it wasn't just the kid thing. It was the lack of apology. The public posts. The way she reached out only when she needed something, acting like I was just being petty for holding a boundary. Also, it's not like I'm refusing to ever see Ava again. I just need space. I need Emily to stop steamrolling me emotionally and calling it love, but now I feel like I'm being painted as the villain. So here's the big question. After that phone call, I felt this strange mix of anger, grief, and something that surprised me, relief. For the first time in a long while, I had finally drawn a clear line, not just with Emily, but with the version of myself that always kept peace at the cost of my own dignity. It was liberating. But it came with fallout I hadn't fully prepared for. A couple of days after our call, my mom invited me over just to talk. That usually meant an ambush, and sure enough, when I got there, Emily was already sitting at the kitchen table, arms crossed, sipping coffee like she owned the place. I should have walked out then, honestly. But I didn't. I sat down. I listened. My mom launched into a monologue about how life's too short to hold grudges, how family means forgiveness, and how Ava was getting caught in adult drama she didn't deserve. Emily didn't say much. She let our mother do the guilt-tripping while she played the quiet, stoic victim. Classic. When it was finally my turn to speak, I said calmly that I wasn't holding a grudge. I was holding a boundary. And if she had just said, "Hey, I messed up. I was wrong. I'm sorry," then maybe we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But she hadn't done that. Not once. At that point, Emily finally jumped in and said, "I've said I was sorry, like 100 times. You just don't want to forgive me." Except she hadn't. Not once. She justified, minimized, redirected, and gaslit, but not once had she simply said, "I did something hurtful. I get why you're upset. I'm sorry." When I pointed that out, she rolled her eyes and said, "Okay, fine. I'm sorry." There. Happy? It was like a slap in the face. That wasn't an apology. That was a performance. That was her trying to shut me up, not make things right. I stood up and said I wasn't going to be manipulated anymore. I told them both that I loved them, but I wasn't going to keep sacrificing my mental well-being just to be the easy sister or the cool daughter who never made waves. Then I left. I thought maybe after that, things would settle down, that Emily would sit with it, think it through, and realize I wasn't going to cave like I used to. Instead, she doubled down. Over the next week, she posted more passive-aggressive stuff online, cryptic quotes like "Some people will never be satisfied. No matter how much you give," and funny how family stops being family when you set one boundary. You know the type. Mutual friends started texting me, some siding with her, saying they totally understood why she brought Ava and that kids make everything better anyway. Others quietly told me they were on my side but didn't want to get in the middle. Even my cousin, who's usually super level-headed, told me she thought I was making a mountain out of a molehill. What no one seemed to get was that this wasn't about a single moment. It was about years of being treated like my feelings were optional. Like I was only valuable when I was saying yes, accommodating, making things easier for everyone else. You want examples? I've got them, like the time Emily flaked on my graduation dinner because her boyfriend at the time got a flat tire 2 towns over and she couldn't leave him alone. Or the time she borrowed my car for a weekend and brought it back 5 days later with an empty tank and a broken side mirror. No apology, just a shrug and stuff happens. And yes, I let it slide. Every time. Because I wanted to believe that being family meant we'd show up for each other when it really mattered. But when my wedding, the biggest day of my adult life, rolled around, and I asked for one single, clear thing, she treated it like an opinion. Like a suggestion. And when I said no, she just did what she wanted anyway. That wasn't love. That was entitlement. About a month later, I got a message from Emily's friend, someone I barely knew. She said, "Hey, just wanted to let you know Ava's been asking why you don't see her anymore. She misses you." I felt like I'd been punched in the chest, not because I regretted my decision, but because it confirmed what I'd feared. Emily was using Ava as a pawn. She wasn't just hurt that I'd said no, she was making sure her kid felt that hurt too. Twisting the story. Painting me as the villain in a way Ava couldn't even begin to understand. So I did something risky. I wrote a letter to Ava, nothing heavy, just a sweet, simple note. I said I loved her, that I missed her, and that sometimes grown-ups have big feelings they need to work through before things go back to normal. I dropped it off at Emily's house when I knew she wouldn't be there. A week later, I got a text from Emily. "Don't ever go behind my back again. You lost that right." So now I was the monster for wanting to keep a connection with my niece, the same connection Emily had accused me of abandoning. At that point, I realized I wasn't going to win. Not with her. Not with the version of her that refused to acknowledge any fault, and certainly not with the family members who saw confrontation as betrayal. It's been a few months. I haven't seen Ava. I haven't heard from Emily. My relationship with my mom is polite, but strained. She still drops little comments like maybe one day you'll see her side where you know she has a good heart, right? But I've also started therapy, something I probably should have done a long time ago, and I've learned that boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're fences to protect your peace. And you can love someone deeply without letting them trample all over you. For the first time in forever, I feel like I'm living life on my terms. I say yes when I mean yes. I say no without guilt. And I don't let other people rewrite my reality just because it's more convenient for them. I still hope things can heal someday. I really do. I miss Ava. I miss the sister I thought I had. But I'm not going to break myself just to keep the illusion going, so. AITA for refusing to babysit my niece because of how my sister treated me at my wedding, and more importantly, for standing my ground even when my whole family seems to think I'm being petty. Some days, I feel like maybe I am being too stubborn. That maybe I should just let it go for the sake of family unity. But then I remember how it felt to walk into my own wedding and realize my sister had lied to me publicly, deliberately, and without shame. And how even now, she's made zero real effort to make it right. So maybe I'm not the villain. Maybe I'm just someone who finally said, enough.